This is Cross Culture Podcast with Belle Tyndall and Lauren Windle,
where we talk pop culture and current affairs from a Christian perspective.
I am slightly blown away that we are kicking off episode 9.
That's so weird. If we do another season, right?
Yeah.
Next episode is going to be episode 10. That's double digits.
That's wild. It feels like we started this last week, but it also feels like I've never not yapped through what's happening in the world with you.
I know. I am going to be really sad, if anything, if I come up with a witty or insightful comment on any pop culture or current affair thing in the next month, 6 weeks until we record again. I'm going to write them down and make you sit through them.
Yeah, they'll just have nowhere to go. Otherwise, they'll just, what are we supposed to do? Just say them into the void?
Oh my gosh, are we supposed to reserve our commentary for like when we're hanging out with friends?
Can you imagine? The thing is, a lot of my friends have banned me from certain topics.
What topics are you banned from?
Oh, not controversial topics, just topics I talk about too much. So I can't talk about Nick Cave to many people anymore.
I'm happy to pop Nick Cave on the banned list.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
My friends are getting bored of me talking about Botox, I'd say.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And whether or not Christians can have it.
Give us your one word answer.
I can't because
it's not a one worder.
It's not a one worder. It's going to take some unpicking. I think it's a pastoral issue.
Okay. We'll save that for pastoral conversations, because this week, not to say that Botox isn't festive. It could well be. It could be one of your December rituals is to go and get your little tweaks done. And if so, happy Christmas. I'm really happy for you.
Happy Tweakmas.
Happy tweak. Oh.
Oh, that was really bad.
No, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I like that.
Oh dear.
But this is our final one of the series.
Last of the series, yep.
Last of the series, last of the year.
Yeah.
And that means that we've got a few things to do. We need to say goodbye.
But you haven't, it's the Christmas special.
It's the Christmas special.
Christmas end of year special.
Yes, it is. It's a party in podcast form.
And neither of us dressed festive at all. Only producer Chris, who's come in a Santa hat.
Purely for our benefit.
And I really loved it. We don't even record the visual. So
we don't
see, but
it really was just for us, and I was so
tickled
grateful.
The two of us.
Yes, it did. Okay. So before we dig into Christmas, we're going to take a little pause and have a look back through the year 2024. And what we're going to do is we are going to tell you, our dear friends and listeners, our hero of the year, our moment of the year, our plot twist of the year, and our trend of the year as a way of just rounding off and saying sweet goodbye to 2024.
So my moment, right, and I've got two, because the moments that matter to me are the moments when we all pull together, when you can see unity, you can see joint enjoyment, joint engagement, joint joy, and I've got two of those moments that really stand out. The first is when Australia entered the breakdancing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson to us all. Do you know what? Don't say, no, I can't compete at an elite level. Say, yeah, I'll bunny hop my way through that.
Just be a yes person. See where it gets you.
Say yes more. You could be an Olympic hopeful that everyone is talking about.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you.
The other moment where everyone really pulled together is when we saw a recent photo of Gary Barlow's son. I'm trying really hard not to laugh.
Gary Barlow. So my sister-in-law is obsessed with Gary Barlow's son. These memes are a piece of genius.
I know. Like I think it was like someone had taken a screen grab of the guy doing the weather and they were like added Gary Barlow's son for scale. And he was like twice the size of England or something.
I love it. Have you seen this one? He's like, Gary Barlow is holding like this huge pole and he's like kind of holding it. And it's like when Gary Barlow has to hand his son a straw.
Yeah.
There's so good.
There'll definitely be a BuzzFeed roundup of those somewhere. Like they were just, honestly, that was what, 2-3 weeks ago? Well, it was a tough week. There was lots going on. And every now and again, I just saw, it was the election time in the States.
Yeah.
But bit of light
Who
relief.
could? Yeah.
Gary Barlow's son is massive, guys. Let's talk about that, you
He's
know?
massive. Can you imagine? Because I feel like we've never known Gary Barlow's son, right? So obviously there's been some kind of concerted effort to keep Gary Barlow's family out of the spotlight. And can you imagine after how old is he? Like 20? That's a pure guess. I have no idea. But can you imagine after 2 decades of trying to keep your son and doing it quite successfully out of the spotlight, you post one photo about him
And
and he's the most
suddenly,
famous person in Britain?
suddenly he is, some minor Christian podcaster's moment of 2024.
Imagine. Gosh, I hope he knows. Listen, if you're listening and you happen to know Gary Barlow's son, can you just tell him that he's Lauren's moment of the year and just make
Just
his
tell him
Christmas?
thank you. Just tell him thank you.
Yeah, thank you, will
Yeah.
do actually.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Barlow Jr. What's your moment of the year then, Belle?
My moment of the year is for similar reasons to you, actually, in that it felt communal and it felt joyful. But I am somewhat of a cliche, somewhat
Oh,
of a white girl in her 20s cliche. And so my moment of the year was Taylor Swift's Eras tour.
I knew, I
Did you feel
knew,
it come in?
I knew she was going to come up. And I
Mm.
deliberately picked ones we haven't already spoken about for mine because I
Yeah.
thought I'm just not going to be that broken record, but that's fine. Eras
Sorry.
tour.
Oh,
I
it
guess
just
you
has to
actually
be.
went to it
I did
and
actually
I
go.
didn't. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why it's not my moment.
Maybe. But I did actually go. But do you remember? Do you remember what like the steps outside Wembley looked like when she just came
Oh,
to the UK?
carnage.
Do you remember
Yeah.
that train in Scotland that
Yeah.
was like "Welcome to Taylor"? Like, do you just remember what we all did just because she
Yeah.
came to the UK?
Yeah, it was a moment of collective meltdown, Like I'm picturing like blonde girls who, if we were in
Yeah.
America, would legitimately be in the cheerleading squad, just going like constantly. Yeah, I had to
It
do that
really,
quietly because it would have been too
yeah,
annoying
yeah.
otherwise.
It was that.
Yeah.
But it was such a moment, and
Yeah.
it is my moment because I think it's the epitome of my trend of 2024. So
Oh,
I'll move straight on to that
go on then. What's your trend?
because my trend of 2024 is like unapologetic girliness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
hair scrunchies,
Big
bows
ones.
on
Yeah.
everything. Big. My
Hmm.
hair scrunchie is quite often bigger than my head.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bows on
I'm 10
everything.
years too old to do that. I still think that's a bit silly, but that's cool. That's why we've got the age gap for that
Yeah.
diversity, for a voice
Just
of reason,
so
you know?
everyone feels included.
Yeah.
We are right. So it's Christmas. Have you seen the amount of people who are just filling their Christmas trees just with pretty ribbons and bows?
Yeah, I actually looked at my tree looks really sparse because I still think it's funny to put my ornament of a Greg's vegan sausage roll on
Nice.
the
I love
on
that.
the on the tree, and I've got a pair of trainers, some chips,
Oh, okay.
and a stack of books. My flatmate did see the toilet roll, but decided it's way too far past lockdown for that to be funny, so she
Yeah,
put it
fair
back in
enough.
the box. Yeah, but I
Your
was actually thinking of getting bows.
do
'Cause
bows because
seeing
currently
bows
your
everywhere.
Christmas tree has a love of Huns vibe to it.
Wait, but that's the trend, right? We're allowed
That's
love
totally
of
the
puns.
trend.
We're allowed to be unapologetically
Yeah, we are.
girly.
This
There's
is the
a
thing.
part of me that will always love Gemma Collins. I think
Yeah,
I am a hun.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think you are. And there's ballet pumps, Tool, like Tool is back, like tutus kind of things are
Oh,
back.
sorry, I wasn't sure what word you were saying
Yeah,
there.
sorry.
Yeah, it is
Tool.
back. The sort of tool.
Twool? Twool. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know. Say it in a proper French accent because I wouldn't be able to do that. You could.
I don't know. How do you say it in French?
Mm.
Tool?
Yeah, there you go.
Is it
Excellent.
tool? So, do you want to know what my trend is then? Your favorite trend of the year is super girly. Mine's
Super
really
girly.
holy. I,
Oh no, this always happens to me. This always happens.
well, I made sure that I had at least one like genuine Christian thing going on in here.
I did
Um,
not.
I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that there has been a real trend in preaching, even in local churches, not just from big stages at big festivals and things, on spiritual disciplines and spiritual
Mm,
formation. And that was almost certainly kicked off by Practicing the Way, the book that John Mark Comer
yeah.
released in
Yeah.
January of this year. And since then, I've just seen it trickle down, and people are like working through the book. There's like a workbook to go with the book that people are working through and stuff like that. But even not even necessarily John Mark Comer related. It
Mm,
just seems that it is on everyone's minds that people are trying to get good spiritual practices in place. It feels like everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about accessible habits. All the festivals I was at brought this stuff up. Lots of them are planning it as their theme for next year. The sort of disciplines, but discipline isn't quite the right word because it makes it feel
mm,
inaccessible when really what it is beautifully accessible and attainable. And this sort of idea of working your spiritual practices into your everyday. And I kind of want to
mm.
say making them work for you, but that makes it sound a bit like you're not being sufficiently sacrificial for Jesus. But kind of like accepting the season of life you're in, your sort of capabilities, and not just saying, oh, well, that person is on their knees in silence praying for 1 hour a day. I need to be as well. Actually going like, no, what does consistent spiritual practice look like for me? And I love that as a Christian trend.
That is a really good question, trend. Do you think, I mean, because I think, and I wonder if social media and the internet has done this to us, but I think we're more aware now that we are always being formed into something, whether we want to be or not, like we are being formed into something. And so I wonder if that awareness
Mm.
is making us think, well, my gosh, if I'm being formed into anything, I need to take hold of it because I want to be formed to look like Jesus as opposed to anything else.
I think in days gone by, we didn't have as many choices as to what we could be formed into
Yeah.
because you probably just ended up being formed into your parents because you grew up in the same village and you got a similar job and you married someone in the village
Mm,
and you maybe had children and, blah, blah, blah. Whereas we see this expanse of choice. And I think maybe 20 years ago, people would have been reasonably undiscerning about what they did with that choice because they're like,
yeah.
try everything. And I
Yeah.
think that we're now circling back and going, okay, we can invest in anything in terms of our
Yeah.
time, in terms of our attention, in terms of our development, but we're seeing that we're feeling quite low, that our mental health is struggling. What do we
Yeah.
want to be sort of formed into? And Christians hopefully are going, yeah, Jesus, and picking activities and focuses and principles which will get them there as much as is possible. So
Yeah, I love that. So like it's like we're almost having a bit of a reaction to too much freedom. There's that Bible verse, isn't there, where I think it's a psalm and it says like your boundaries fall in pleasant places. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, actually, boundaries aren't a bad thing. And sometimes they fall in really pleasant
massively.
places.
I remember I was reading, I think about this all the time. I think about the idea that liberation is not actually liberation,
Yeah,
in
sure.
that if you believe that you can just do anything and go with anything, then actually you will find yourself pretty enslaved in the end.
Yeah.
When, this idea of like sexual liberation as being and sexual suppression as being a bad thing. Well, I'm sorry, I want to be around people who are in control and able to suppress their sexual urges. Because if we're on a bus and you see someone you fancy, I'm going to need you to suppress that.
Mm,
Like there are many, many times where you must operate under sexual suppression. And I'm super proud of people who do that. And if all we do, because otherwise you'd be in prison. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So, like,
absolutely.
actually, can we celebrate discipline? Can we celebrate discernment? Can we celebrate self-control? Can we stop demonizing it? Because it protects us and protects other people.
Yes. Oh, an excellent trend that really does put my girliness to shame.
Well, so whilst we're on to the deeper stuff, we talked about saying our biggest plot twist. And this one's a little bit more serious. And then my next thing is like super fun again.
Okay.
Biggest plot twist for me was I heard about this horrific story of a woman who had spent a decade or so
Mm,
being drugged and raped by her
yeah.
husband and people he invited in to do the same into their
Yeah.
home, right, in
Yeah.
France. So we all heard about that. It was chilling when you
Mm,
read about the details, and it was such an eye-catching story in its horrificness, in the level of trust and intimacy that you share with your husband that you would expect not to be broken in that way, right? My plot twist was when she waived her right to anonymity at the level of media. And that's something that
Mm.
no victim of legally, no victim of sexual assault or any kind of sexual violence can be named unless they formally in writing tell the press you can name me, right? So it's a huge deal. It's a huge decision to make. She made that decision, and in doing so, her message is that the shame is not on me, it's on
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And she is such an unconventional survivor of sexual assault that I think that that is going to be groundbreaking for people who come forwards in the future. And it was a plot twist that I certainly, because the circumstances are so depraved, you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
wouldn't expect someone to say, okay, let my name be
Yeah.
publicly associated with that.
Show my
Let
face,
people be
say
able
my
to
name.
Google me and
Yeah.
see that that is my experience, that I have lived through that. And
Yeah.
I thought that that was amazing.
Yeah. She is amazing. Oh my
Mm,
goodness. Yeah. That story. Oh, that story. Okay. So I have two plot twists and I'll stick with the serious one because
go
my
on,
non-serious one would be inappropriate after that.
go on then.
My serious one, Donald Trump's assassination attempt.
Oh, I thought of putting that, but someone the other day, a Christian, I think after the whole conspiracy theory
Yeah.
debacle of 2 weeks ago.
Well, if this is an odd conversation, then we welcomed it.
Well,
We
she
did this.
thinks that it was set up in order to give him a, platform of bravery and to sort of promote him. But someone died. It's
Someone
not
died.
like, I mean, I guess I've watched Scandal, so it feels feasible that they would
Yeah.
set up a
Yeah.
something for a president to be voted in and have someone die. But that was just, yeah. Go on,
I just,
why is it your plot twist?
well, I think a couple of things. I think the plot twist really was that then he won the election, which was unexpected for me, perhaps wrongly. And then his line was, I knew that God had saved me to be the president. And I just think that whole thing was just something that wasn't on my bingo card for 2024.
Yeah, God saving Trump from a sniper so that he could become leader
Yes.
of the free world. Also not on my bingo card.
No, just all of it was wild. I was like, oh wow, an assassination attempt of an American president or president-elect, both a pre and post president, as
Oh
is the
yeah, that's
weirdness.
yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um, I mean it's I didn't see him winning and he did. And again, maybe that is just us in our own sort of bubbles,
I'm sure it is. Yeah,
never hearing the messages from people who
yeah.
disagree with us. So just
Never
assuming that
listening to
everyone
Joe
thinks as we
Rogan.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's where we're going wrong here.
yeah.
Not embracing more Joe Rogan. I wonder though, do you think that that assassination attempt was the tipping point for him? Was that the twist
I
when
think,
everything
yeah, I
changed?
do think it was. Looking
Mm.
back, I wonder if it was. I mean, because I was looking back through social media and going sort of back to that time and like people saying he's literally taken a bullet for our country because, it
Wow.
kind of grazed him as it went past his head. And it was such an undeniably near miss, like an
Oh yeah.
undeniably unlikely survival.
Oh yeah,
It's
massively. Yeah,
shocking.
yeah, yeah.
And I wonder if, yeah, that
I
was the tipping point that then caused the plot twist of all plot twists. He's
yeah,
back.
he's back. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. Well, that brings us neatly on to my hero of the year, who is, of course, not Donald Trump, sorry.
Who
Who
is?
is Donald? No. Right. My hero of the year is
Hmm.
someone who I'd be surprised if you knew who he was. He's a guy called Nicky Campbell. He is the Elle magazine fashion consultant or whatever editor, and he reviews the red carpet. And I discovered him a little while ago, and I've been following him on Instagram, and I love him. And
Really?
I know who has been at each event, each premiere, each red carpet, each award, each blah blah blah, because he's told me what he thinks of their outfit. And
Excellent.
he'll show like 40 different people in 40 different outfits in the course of about 60 seconds. And he'll just go, no, love it. She ate, why does she always do this so well? Don't like the frills. Next, too boring. And he just goes on and on and on.
Bash them through.
I'm just obsessed.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't want to
All you
spend too
want.
much time on
Yeah.
each outfit. I just want someone to go, yes, no, maybe that would be better with this, lose the belt, not good enough tailoring. I'm disappointed. That's amazing. And that's exactly what he does. And it just means I feel really up to date on all fashion things.
Yeah, for him. If you can picture, like, say, the last 7 outfits you wore and they flash up as he's commentating, what's he saying? Because that would terrify me.
Why didn't she wash her hair? I think would be, oh, how surprising. Another chunky knit, I think it would say.
Yes. I mean, look at us both. We are both in chunky knits right now. I spoke at my childhood church, the church I grew up in. I went
What did
home,
you speak on?
Mary and Elizabeth, kicking off Advent. It was a
Love that.
total joy. And one of the leaders there, who I've known since I was a literal baby, he looked at what I was wearing and he said, Belle, when you speak to kind of like quite powerful or important people, is this how you dress?
What were you
And I said,
wearing?
well, yes. Just, I thought I actually looked all right. Jeans and a nice top. I mean,
Oh,
I mean, come
how
on.
can you go wrong with jeans and a nice top?
How can you go wrong? But
That's
obviously, it wasn't, demure enough, wasn't chic enough. And I
I
understand.
I don't know if I would take that. I don't know if
So
this
it was,
presumably man.
yeah. And he
I don't
meant it
know.
in love, I'm sure, but it was just really funny. I was like, well, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Oh, should I not?
Well, I think Nikki
Anyway,
would probably sign it off. So
yeah,
Nikki
thank you,
Campbell, you
Nikki.
need to follow him and you're just going to feel so informed
I
about
will. Oh my
about
goodness, I
outfits.
absolutely
He's my
will.
hero.
I'll know
Uh,
what kind of like sleeve to wear,
exactly.
that sort of thing.
Who's your hero of 2024?
Okay, my hero of 2024, you might know who she is, Chris Halanga. So she actually died this year at the
Oh,
age of 38. She, after living for 15 years with secondary breast cancer, and she founded Copperfield. So that amazing charity that gets you to squeeze
oh,
your boobs.
yes.
Yeah. Copperfield is amazing. They do the
Yeah.
London Marathon quite a lot, don't they? Like dressed as massive boobs.
There are a few people who run the London Marathon just in a bra and stuff, and I'm not sure
Yeah,
if it's that or if it's more sort of body positive and stuff like that.
sure.
But yeah, that's amazing.
She's amazing. Chris Halanga is amazing. And yeah, she died this year, but she
Mm.
was just so amazing. And this year she had a living funeral before she died, way earlier this year. She called it a funeral. So she was there. She had it in Truro Cathedral. She had Dawn French giving a sermon as Geraldine, the Vicar of Dibley.
No way.
She did.
There's a small, and it's a small part of me that goes, is that heresy? But then there's a much bigger
I
part of me
know.
that goes, that's what would want for my funeral.
Absolutely. That is 100% what I would want. She also had a massive disco. So she bought herself a cardboard coffin and got all of the guests to sign it so that she was, buried in the messages of love. There was glitter everywhere.
Mm,
It was such a full life party. And there's actually a documentary about her journey, about Copperfield, and about the funeral called Living Every Second, the Chris Halenga story. And I would recommend that as a watch because it is powerful, but also she's so fun. It's such
no.
a fun watch. You get to see that funeral take place. And also, I found it really interesting, me being me and working where I do and being interested in what I'm interested in. She's in no way a Christian. The
Mm,
event was in no way a Christian event. Yet
apart
still,
from
there was something.
Geraldine.
That's the thing. Still, there was something about a cathedral that she wanted
Mm.
because she had it in Truro Cathedral in Cornwall. And there was something about this ode to religion in using Geraldine, the Vicar of Dibley,
Yeah.
to kind of house this event of grief and joy. It's like, what can house that? Well, probably a vicar, albeit a not real one, and a cathedral. And I just find that really interesting as well.
I think that when it comes down to it, when it
Mm.
comes down to the big stuff, when it comes down to the wire, to the end of days, to the really huge questions, whether people realize it or not, they need They need the church. They need
Yeah.
Christianity to be able to carry the weight of those things. They can't do it on their own.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think that's what this documentary showed me.
Yeah.
But she's amazing. She's my hero. The documentary is amazing. It's on iPlayer. You can watch it. And
Oh,
she's my hero of 2024. They do say on the documentary, I can't remember the number, but the amount of lives she's probably saved by just
yeah.
teaching
Yeah.
women. Like the message that she taught was so simple. Literally just check your boobs, check your boobs. Like for
Yeah.
15 years, that's all she wanted to say was check your boobs. And the amount of
Yeah.
lives she saved by doing that is wild.
I don't know if you remember, but Channel 4 had this show with doctors, and it was often pretty intimate. And you were like, how have they managed to get a patient to show that? Where
Ah,
you'd
okay.
go like to a GP surgery, there were three different doctors. You'd bring like embarrassing bodies or something like that.
Oh, I
You'd
remember
bring an
Embarrassing
embarrassing
Bodies.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
exactly.
never allowed to watch it. My mum was like, no, you're too young. But I
Well,
remember being
it
intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, it was medical. Like,
Mm,
they did show like vaginas or penises, but it was kind of like maybe a vagina that had thrush or something. So, like, you're kind of, I don't know, it normalized actual body parts
yeah,
in a
sure.
non-sexual way, but I guess you'd need to be old enough to be able to carry that and respect it for the non-sexual thing it was.
Sure.
But anyway, I remember my mum's friend watching the first series of that, them showing on bare breasts how to do on camera. And that was huge at the time, like
Mm,
on Channel 4, like maybe 9 o'clock, showing bare breasts how to examine yourself. She went and did it, found a lump, and was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she's alive. She's
wow.
survived operations and chemotherapy, but she really credits that show and
Yeah,
watching that process of a woman sort of standing there while a doctor said, right, now you press here, you try up here, you make sure you check your armpit, that kind of stuff. She credits that with having caught it when she did.
amazing. It's so
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah,
it is
there we are.
amazing.
Check your boobs, ladies. Enjoy it. Next time you're in the
Proper
shower.
feel. Yeah.
Literally, copper feel. Yeah, so she's my hero. Those
That
are our
is
moments.
such a good hero. That's
She's a
such a
great
good
hero.
roundup.
What a good roundup. Of
That
course, can
was
I just say
good.
my non-serious plot twist, which wouldn't have
Wouldn't have fit
been
at the
appropriate
time.
in the time?
Go on.
Beyonce releasing a country album.
Country album. Yeah. Wait, didn't we have Taylor Swift like at the top of the R&B album and Beyonce at the top of the country
I,
album, like at the same time or
at one
something?
moment, probably. I mean, who
Oh.
saw that coming?
A country album I did because I love Daddy Lessons from her last album, which
I
was
love Daddy Lessons from her last album. It's the best one.
it's the best one. And that
It's
was
the
with was it
best.
with Dixie Chicks?
She performed it with Dixie Chicks, didn't she? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
My
there you go. So I've
goodness.
heard her do a pretty astonishing job of
Yeah.
country
Oh,
beforehand.
there
There
we
you
are.
go.
Okay, well, there is our 2024
Oh,
round right the way up.
let's jingle all the way on to Christmas.
Let's,
Let's just jingle on
please.
over. What's your Christmas go-tos? What
My,
you watching? What you reading?
okay, let's start holy. Let's start, Jesus centered. I spiritually, Christiany, I adore. I think Advent is my favorite time of year. I love properly digging in.
Okay. Why?
I really don't know. It's just something about it's something about the Christmas story, but not even in like a sentimental way. It just really gets me emotionally. It's very rare that I will read something that's to do with like the shepherds or the magi and just not cry. I don't know why it
Mm.
is, but something about Advent, this idea of like we hope and we wait and we
Yeah.
yearn for this thing and we long for it and it comes and we put ourselves in that season of waiting every December. Something about the countdown, the anticipation. Something about it, Lauren, just gets me every single year. And so I proper love like Advent devotionals or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love them. So I
Oh.
tend to flip between
Mhm.
two very different vibes. So one of them is quite old school. It's called The Once and Future Coming of Jesus Christ by Fleming Routledge.
That sounds like
Weighty.
it's got an 80s cover.
It absolutely does have an 80s cover. And it's quite like stoic. It's quite formal in its language, but proper beautiful. And then on the alternate years, and that's this year, I do Honest Advent by Scott Erickson. Very
Okay.
different vibe. Very recent. It's only like 2, 3 years old. very different kind of devotional. It's all about like the grittiness and like the mess of the Christian story. It's
Mm,
called Awakening to the Wonder of God with Us, There, Then, Here and Now. Oh,
that's
and
lovely.
so lovely and it's so good and it has images and it's beautiful. And those are my two pieces of Christian content that are like, I'll probably spend my life sort of alternating between those two. They're so beautiful.
That's amazing. I'm a bit torn when it comes to recommending books that aren't released yet, because
Mm.
does it make me sound like a bit of an idiot?
Not an
Um,
idiot, just in the know.
well, but I work for a publisher, you see. So there's a book that's coming out towards the end of next year, so not even soon. And I'll bring it back up again closer to that time by Rachel Newham, who we've already spoken about on this podcast, who wrote And Yet, Learning to Breathe. And she carries very heavy mental health topics
Mm.
with real beauty and tenderness. And hers is going to be a year-long devotional, but
Wow.
with just one per week, so 52
Oh,
more. Yeah, yeah,
I was
sorry.
getting
Not
365 devotion.
365.
What a
No, no.
saint. Okay,
Yeah, no, no.
52.
52. So
Perfect.
it's like manageable
Yeah,
discipline,
that's
right?
what we want.
Like, yeah, exactly. And I have just finished reading through the four or five which come in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's the waiting. It's the arrival of something amazing that you've waited for that doesn't look anything like you
Yeah.
expected. As she speaks about the Feast of Innocence. Have I got that right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, when we honor the children who were slaughtered as Herod was like going round trying to find this
Mm.
baby who was born to sort of overthrow him and stuff like that. And it's just she's just got a really beautiful slant on it,
Mm.
invites reflection and prayer in just a really beautiful way. But I guess the benefit of that is that, well, benefit depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for an Advent book, then it's not that because
Yep.
that's doesn't cover all of Advent. It's just one per week. But it's just a spectacular book. So I kind of feel like I've worked through Advent with her last
Done it.
week.
This is the thing about being a writer and B, a Christian writer, is I've actually been working on Lent for the past month.
Oh, when I worked at The Sun, we had to do Christmas. All of the press companies did Christmas in July. So
Yeah.
you turned up to like the Aldi showcase, and they had these big tables with all of their Christmas feasts, and you're just over it by the time it
You
comes
really are.
round. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
ruins mince pies for you, Christmas in July, I've got to say.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah. So those are my pieces of Christian content.
Okay. I want to bring you some really holy Christian books. And I even wrote a list of some beautifully holy Christian books with the full intention of reading them in time to, recommend them or steer people away from them if necessary. And then, right, so this week on Saturday, I have a deadline for the biggest book I've written, and I'm
How big?
ghostwriting it. It's 90,000 words.
Big.
Bit
That
of
is
an
big.
eye roll there, like, oh yeah, go on then.
No, no, no.
Um,
I was genuinely like, oh yeah, big. That was the weight. That was like me feeling the momentary weight of that word count. That was
yeah.
completely sincere. I immediately like my shoulders slumped. Like, oh,
Yeah. Well, so I'm at the business end of 90,000 words, right? And what I
nice.
find is I'm intensively writing about 10,000 words a day at the moment because all the research is already done and I just need
Okay.
to write it up. So I'm pulling things together now. But if I read another book this week, A, I just don't have time. And B, I start writing in the voice of the person I'm reading. And once I was writing one of my own books and I wrote that something was not of consequence. And I was like, just put down Jane Austen and read it when you're done writing because that is not how you talk. Like, stop.
Yeah, I love that.
So when
I
I get to
love
the
that.
crux of a book, I stop reading other people's because it's got to be the voice, either my voice or the voice of
Yeah.
the person I'm ghostwriting for. So I
How
haven't
hard
read
is
anything.
it? How hard is it to get into the voice of a person who's not you?
I've spent a
Ghostwriting
year with
wise.
this person,
Okay.
like in and out. I've met their families. I've been to their hometown. I've been to where they grew up. I've walked around their houses. I've met every person they're related to, interviewed them for hours. I'm fine. I've got it. I know them,
You've got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do
It's
you
hard though,
intentionally
otherwise.
listen to how they speak? and what words they tend to use, or is it not really about their tone of voice?
It has to be their tone of voice. I record everything and then
Okay.
transcribe everything. So I
Okay.
use specific phrases, and sometimes I'll put in a word and go, no, that's a me word. And I'll go back and listen. And they'll,
Yeah.
like, for example, someone hit someone, they whacked, they walloped you, they hit, those
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
have different words for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So always use the exact word that that person said in that.
Go on, mouth to me who it is. Write it on a sheet of paper and hold it up.
I can't. I'm
Oh,
contractually obliged to
all
remain
right. Never mind.
anonymous, I'm afraid.
Okay.
But
Okay,
I tell
cool.
you what I have been doing because that's quite heavy, and I get
Yeah.
towards the end of the day and I'm
Yeah.
like, I just need to not. I have been watching about one tacky Christmas film a day. I'd say hour and a half of my
Oh,
time over dinner. And that of this year's offering, I don't know if I should be embarrassed or what.
no, wear it with pride. Come on, it's the year
Okay.
of girliness, remember?
I've genuinely watched The Merry Gentleman, Hot Frosty, Meet Me Next Christmas, Best Christmas Ever, Our Little Secret. All five of those have come out on Netflix in the last 2 weeks. They are awful. They are awful. I'll tell you
Okay.
a few insights that might make you sound clever if you want to take them for yourself for your next Christmas party.
Yeah.
Is that I've realized that Netflix have got a thing where in a lot of these Christmas films, you'll see a character watching one of their previous year's Christmas films.
Oh, very savvy, very clever of them.
Yeah, very clever.
Very
So, for
Inception.
example, Hot Frosty
Yeah.
has Gretchen Wiener from Mean
Mean
Girls.
Girls.
Yeah. And then the snowman guy who turns into a real man and becomes her love interest. Yeah, you're right. That happens. He is just flicking through and watches the Lindsay Lohan Christmas film from last year. And then she goes, hey, I think I went to high school with that girl. And that's ha ha ha. Also, in that film, I'm pretty sure Chriselle from Selling Sunset features and as a little
Oh,
cameo at the very beginning. And then I think it's A Merry Gentleman where one of them is watching The Christmas Prince, where
yeah,
the
I haven't
yeah.
seen that, but I can visualize it on my Netflix scroll.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So they
okay.
keep doing that. They keep cross-promoting each other, which is fine because they're basically the same film. So if you like one, you will like the others.
And if you
Also,
dislike one, just call it a day. Don't
I'd
persevere.
no sensible person would give any one of those films any more than 5 out of 10. But I think that you know what you're getting into. You watch it, you've made your bed. It's all a female protagonist. She always goes on a journey of realization. She's always in love with the person she wasn't expecting to be in love with at the very beginning of the film. She ends up with someone else, but
Yeah,
it's beautiful and they save Christmas and the local town at the same time.
always. Do you know what? My version of that, because anyone, I've spoken frequently about my love of chick lit. And so my
Yeah.
version of that would be I am a sucker for a supermarket book that's like Christmas at the bookshop, The Christmas Wedding, Christmas in Cornwall, da 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 da. Like anything like that, I
If you
am on
change the
it.
word Christmas for murder, then I'm exactly the
Yeah.
same. Murder at the bookshop, murder in Cornwall, murder at the wedding. I'm like, my goodness, let's get some octogenarian sleuths on that.
Oh, I love it. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And people who love Hallmark Christmas films love them. So
I
there's a
quite
certain
like
magic to them.
that, like, yeah, like 5 years ago or so, we started making jokes about this like ridiculous formula. I
Yeah.
quite like that they've just pressed into it now. They're not
Yeah.
pretending to be anything else. They're
Leaning
like,
in.
literally, yeah, fine. Every single one of them goes to buy a tree from like a tree farm forest place where they
Yeah.
cut it down for you. Like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with Tesco's? Do you know what I mean?
I got my Christmas tree this year from Morrison's. Isn't that the least festive ceremonial thing?
It's very British. It's very Greg's. It's very Nando's. It's very Weatherspoons. I like it, you
I
know?
like it too. Okay, yeah. All right. So where you're a Hallmark girl, what I watch at Christmas is sitcom Christmas specials. Like I will f seek them out. I will Google where they fall, and I will just watch them.
Wait, so it doesn't have to be one that's been released that year.
No.
It's like previous ones that
Yeah.
you'll go and watch. So like
Yeah.
episode 12 of The
That's
Office
right.
season 4, you just
That's
watch
right.
that.
And what do you remember the bougie Christmas episode? I watched that just the other day
Who's Bougie Christmas episode?
on The Office, the US Office. and they
Yeah,
have like a classy Christmas party in the office because Steve Carell's love interest Holly is
he
coming,
might
and
turn up.
he wants to look like Santa, but he wants to look a bit sexy with it. Watched that just the other day. I haven't been watching The Office all year, but I will go straight there. And my
Wow.
absolute favorite one is the Motherland Christmas special. I
Hang on,
da
because you said that the
die.
Motherland Halloween special was your favorite of all
I
the.
know.
So you just love
I
Motherland.
think I do, but do you know what it is about Motherland? And it's just the Britishness of it.
It's
So,
so
like, for
painfully
example,
British.
so painfully British. So, like, they don't do this, but in Motherland, it wouldn't be totally unfeasible for them to have got their Christmas tree from Morrison's. So it's just the relatability of it all, that it's all a little bit British, a
If the
little bit
script writers have
stressful.
thought of that, I
Yeah,
think they would have had a scene of picking up in Morrison's.
exactly. All the
And they would have
parents,
gotten there too late, like the shoe shop. They would have got there
yes,
too late. There'd be one really, really crap, almost dead one.
scraggly tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, guys, the Motherland Christmas special, like, do yourselves a favor. After you've worked your way through Netflix's films,
What happens in the Motherland Christmas special?
this is the thing, literally nothing. They go to a party. What happens? They go to a nativity. They go to a party. They go home from a party. That's it. Job's good.
Mhm.
I
That's
really hope I
great.
sold it there.
Well, I'm not scrabbling for the remote to turn on iPlayer, but maybe I will do in time.
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, the only other thing that this year will be new and fresh and hot off the press, but also fits right into my category of joy, is the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Can we get predictions on that then? So we left off, what, like 4 years ago in lockdown or
Yeah,
something,
yeah. I think it was
where,
2019. So I think it was just before lockdown.
oh, was it? I thought that they, oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
And Nessa had proposed to Smithy,
that's
right?
right.
And that's where we left it. What
Yes,
do you
we
think
did.
is going to happen?
I think they are together, if not
Do you think it's
married.
going to be their wedding episode?
That would be a long engagement, mind, wouldn't it?
No, people do that. People who aren't Christian,
Yeah,
people who
you're
live
so
together
right.
pre-marriage.
Yeah, because what's the rush? Yeah, maybe it's they were. Have they said whether it's actually going to be set at Christmas or not?
That I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
any of that information. I saw an interview with Larry Lamb where he was asked questions about it. I've seen
Mm,
a few people be asked questions about it. No one's saying anything.
yeah. The thing is, it's I am Welsh and
You are.
and my boyfriend is from Essex. So we really, really resonate with Gavin and Stacey.
You are. You're Stacey and Gavin that
A
way
little bit.
round.
Yeah,
That's
Stacey and Gavin.
what is something that when you watch the show, you're like, that is ridiculous, but that is absolutely true
Yeah,
about
pretty
Welsh
much.
people.
Oh, yeah. The chapel scene. That's, when they all go to church. I think it's like in season one.
When they ask what their favorite sandwiches are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite accurate. The fact that everyone knows each other, the fact that I think there's one where Doris, she kind of says like, oh, they're coming over here stealing our jobs. And someone's like, where are they from? And she goes, Newport. That's so accurate. Like that kind of thing. It's painfully, painfully accurate. I hate it really is.
That is so good.
Yeah.
I definitely, look, I'm not from Essex, but if I were to be from one of the two
Oh,
areas,
yeah. It's your
I'm most
closest port of call.
Essex. Yeah, definitely. I definitely learned the whole rap to American Boy
Yeah.
in the way that Smithy, his sister, did.
Smithy and Smithy squared.
Yeah, and the pub quiz and the quiz master get increasingly more drunk
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
all of that. It's just something so British. I watched it with a Dutch friend who came over to stay with me a couple of months ago. I hosted that Christian stand-up comedy night. He came
Nice.
over, he helped out, all of that kind of stuff. Next day, absolutely exhausted, having a little wind down. And I was like, do you know what you should watch? Get a bit of British culture into you, Gavin and Stacey. The whole series, right, is
Yeah.
totally family friendly in all ways, apart from that first episode. It is rotten. It is rotten. When they
What
go into
happens?
they go on their first date
Oh, the hotel, the
and they go into
ensuite.
the hotel and the ensuite, and it's the rest of it is so. And this guy is a lovely Christian guy, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh gosh, I didn't remember those
Oh,
jokes.
sorry. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, you're right. Oh, I'm so excited. I think it might be their wedding day. The thing is, they are like Gavin and Stacey are a bit boring now, aren't they? It's never actually about them.
It's about
It's
Smithy.
about Smithy and Nessa. So I'm expecting them to be the stars of the show.
Can you just give us one what's occurring?
Oh, what's occurring?
It's so authentic.
It was my mum's like text ringtone for a long, long time, that. Yeah. Oh, what joy. Okay. I have one more recommendation, and it is from my usual work home, but I do feel like I can recommend it because I've had nothing to do with this particular project. Seen and Unseen, the website that offers you
Hmm.
Christian perspectives on just about everything.
Hmm.
They are doing a Christmas countdown. So every day for 25 days, they're offering a piece of content, and it's on their socials but also on the website, and it's just generally really really good. Like, it's you've got like big dog theologians breaking open the theology of Christmas, and then the next day you'll probably have a sitcom writer kind of breaking down the formula for a perfect Christmas special, and then you have like psychologists writing about the deepest feelings you can feel at Christmas. Just a piece of really properly rich and thoughtful content every single day, and really cleverly curated. And I just feel like it's the perfect, like, thought-provoking little snippet way to just work your way through December, alongside the Hallmark films and the sitcoms and all the other great, great stuff.
I don't have an advent calendar this year, so maybe that can be my advent calendar.
Lauren, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, if it came with chocolate, I think that would be an improvement for next year. But
Yeah,
it's my advent calendar of the year, yeah.
that is cool. Okay, I'm going to check that out. I haven't seen it. I haven't read anything from it, but what are we? We're recording on the 2nd. This is coming out on the 4th, so there won't be too much to catch up
No,
on.
you
I'm
can go
gonna
on
I'm gonna
back.
check it out. It sounds good.
Yeah. And like I say, I've had nothing to do with it. So I feel like I
Even
can
better.
really, yeah. So honestly, it's a bell-free zone because they're few and far between. Uh, so I feel like I can really
Love
boast
that.
on just how good of a advent calendar countdown it is this year.
So, so good.
Mm.
Now, Belle, all that is left for us to do
I'm not
is
ready.
you
We
can
can
spread
do
your
this.
wings and fly now, and just keep in your notes every time something happens in the press and
Mm.
you're like, I've got something funny to say about that. And we'll just mop
Yeah.
it all up next year.
Shall we? Yeah. All right, let's do that.
Merry Christmas, my gorgeous Belle, and a happy new year. And the same to everyone listening.
Yes.
And we will see you guys on the other side.
We will have the loveliest, loveliest time. And we have loved spending these few months with you and can't wait to do more.